Hello friends, welcome back. My name is Ramon. How are you today? Here we are, the most anticipated, highly requested, most demanded video of the year, my top mineral sunscreens of 2020. And in reality, what this video is actually going to be definitive ranking of all of my brown skin friendly sunscreens that I reviewed this year in the calendar year of 2020, just because there was a lot. And honestly, if it wasn't for these videos, my channel would not be what it is, thanks to you guys, just because this is the content that you guys love. So again, thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing. This video is for you. But before we get into it, I'm gonna ask that you hit the subscribe button and notification bell so that you know when I post more skincare, sunscreen, fancy related content on my channel. Give this video a thumbs up and down below. Out of all these sunscreens, what are your favorites? What are your thoughts on the way that I'm going to be ranking them? And tell me what some of your favorite mineral sunscreens of 2020 were. Sound off. But also, I just want to reiterate, hit that subscribe button and notification bell, just because this video is talking about all my top favorite mineral sunscreens of the year. My top favorite sunscreens of all categories of the year is coming up later on this week. So make sure the notification bell is hit so that you know when that video goes live, because that is the video you guys are all asking for. So here's the tea. There was at least 15 sunscreens, if not a couple more, that I tried this year for the Brown Skin Friendly sunscreen series. And Brown Skin Friendly basically talks about me testing out mineral sunscreens that made bold claims about not leaving white cast on brown, dark, deep tan skin tones, and putting those claims to the test and really debunking them based off multi-variable wear tests and application that you see on screen. And that series in itself did evolve and change over time, just based off what you guys were requesting, what you guys demanded to see in terms of how I tested the sunscreens. So there was a lot of sunscreens I tested this year, really putting them to the test based off how they wore in my facial hair, my hairline, my eyebrows, just because people have facial hair and wear sunscreens, and sometimes these don't work the best when you have a beard and a mustache. How they wore with makeup, just because makeup application with these is really hard, and or sometimes you gotta wear makeup to hide the way these look on the skin because they are not brown skin friendly. How they were with other skincare, just because I think all of us are familiar with experiences of trying to put sunscreen on top of skincare and it just beating up, balling up, pilling up, and not looking good. And then lastly, brown skin friendly. Does it leave a white cast? Is it brown skin friendly, and if so, to what degrees? Just because my brown skin is not the same as deeper, darker, richer brown skin, and there's definitely different experiences as a result of that. So with that, let's talk about my thoughts on all the sunscreens I've tested out this year for the brown skin friendly series. So the tea with this is that since I uploaded a lot of these videos, I've continuously tested a lot of these out, really put these through different tests based off how the climate's changed, things I'm doing throughout my day, skincare, makeup, all that. And so for a few of these sunscreens, I'm going to be just basically talking about updates. And then once we get to my top 5 of the year, I'll be telling you these are my top 5. Some of these didn't even make the cut. Some of these are just really horrible. I did not enjoy them even after testing them time and time and time again. That is what it is. Let me talk about the sunscreens that really did not make the cut. I didn't want to look at them anymore. They did me dirty. And as a result of that, they are gone and out of my collection. First and foremost, we're going to be talking about Biossance and Pipette. Fun fact, owned by the same company. And I think that goes to show a lot of the similarities those two had with each other. They were both squalane based. They were both mad greasy on my skin. Pipette did me dirty just because they had that whole advertisement with the black family putting the sunscreen on. They put on a pea-sized amount and still had a white cast on them. And Biossance in itself, just because there was a lot of claims about the sunscreen, and the advertisement and education behind that sunscreen just pissed me off. I have videos talking about them. What I will say in their defense, just because I've had people specifically tell me like, oh, I have deep skin and this actually looks pretty good on me, is that a lot of the success with sunscreens has to do a lot with the vehicles that the filters are in. I am specifically oily skin, therefore a lot of oil, heavy, rich bases don't sit well on my skin. As a result of that, the filters don't work into my skin very well. So these leave white cast on me, you can see in the videos, and I have medium tan skin, and there's people with deep skin that like the sunscreen. So it just goes off experience. You know, your experience might be different than mine. Those didn't work for me. I hated how they looked. I hated how they wore. Biossance has no business being that expensive, and Pipette, I just don't like the advertising behind a lot of them too, around the whole I am natural, we're not toxic, all that stuff. Really bogus to me as a formulator, as a chemist. That brings a lot of fear-mongering to the game too. So if Pipette had been a better situation, I actually would have really liked that sunscreen. Next, First Aid Beauty. Greasy, slimy, nasty on my skin. Also way too expensive. That was like $30-something for only 30 ml. Luxury pricing. It was so tinted and so greasy that when I put on the proper amount to get the protection on that, which wasn't a lot, I just looked slimy. And my boyfriend himself was telling me this week when we were coming up with this list, he's like, you know, if I could keep the tint but lose a lot of the texture things, that would have been perfect. But on application, it looked good, but within a couple hours, it was just grease fest. You looked nasty, shiny, like it just was not a very elegant experience. And also that price point was no. That being said, that sunscreen over a very mattifying white casty sunscreen would have looked really good, but I was just not having it, didn't want to keep it, returned that. The CeraVe Hydrating Sunscreen, First Aid Beauty's cheaper cousin, same thing, way too greasy, was not about it. What I want to know is there's the specific skincare influencers who have very light, fair skin who love and recommend the CeraVe and the First Aid Beauty, and I just want to know how that works for them, because on my skin tone, it just did not look good. The tint was so orange and so contrasting to my skin, I just want to know how it works on lighter skin. Again, it didn't work for me. me. I didn't see any scenario or situation where it would work for me or where I wanted to make it work, so that got returned. And then the Verse sunscreen. I wanted to like this sunscreen, really did. Verse as a brand, I don't got beef with. That sunscreen itself though did not wear well for me. It balled up, it peeled up, the texture was really unflattering and very unelegant. I gave it to a friend of mine who was like, oh, this did not apply nicely on me. It doesn't look good. It like balled up, peeled up, the texture was bad. And when something like that happens with sunscreen, that in turn raises a lot of alarms about the level of protection I'm getting, just because if it's not forming an even uniform film and texture on my skin, that tells me there's gaps in protection, which is a big no-no with sunscreen. That being said, there's a lot about Verse that I really enjoy and I really wish I liked that sunscreen, but as you are all aware, it also gave me a very bad photo contact dermatitis reaction, so that automatically had to go. Now we're gonna talk about sunscreens that I didn't give away and that I still didn't like. First and foremost, from Klairs, their Midday Blue UV Shield. Here's the tea with that. That was actually one of the first sunscreens I tested for this series, and looking back at the video footage, because I kind of forgot my experience with it when I was using it normally, it wasn't horrible. The texture of it was actually mattifying, which I tend to enjoy with mineral sunscreens. The issue with this primarily in the fact that it had that blue tint to it, which on top of an already like semi-white casty tint, that blue did not work for my skin tone. If you are fair, blue undertones in the product actually help to brighten and tone up your complexion, which works when you're fair, but when you're my skin tone, it just does not look good. You look more gray. And so on deeper skin tones, that's a big, big, big no-no. If the coloring on that was different, I actually would not hate that. When I got my contact dermatitis reaction, I actually did use this one a lot, and it was like a layer of blue chalk on my face, but it was very soothing, which I do enjoy. That one, I can't wear that out in public. I look crazy. Next is one I still kind of have. This is the Australian Gold Botanical Sunscreen Tinted Face SPF 50. Here's the tea with this one. This one was so tinted. This one was so opaque in its tint that it looked like I was wearing a BB cream. But then the issue was the undertone was so cool, which pisses me off because I really hate tinted sunscreens that have such a cool undertone, because undertones kind of work in the same way that mineral filters do, in that if it's not right, it's so off that it neutralizes or cancels out your natural pigment and you look gray as a result. And this did that for me. More so, I like the finish of it. It was very matte and I loved the way it looked on my skin, especially under makeup, but the tone was so off, I could not wear this with a bare face. And then everyone was like, oh, well, they have actual BB cream that's basically the same formula but with different tints. Try out the tint in medium because it's a different undertone than that one, but it's the same shade range. And so I got it. This is what I actually have. It's literally the same undertone. It looks so bad on my skin. And if this undertone was different, I actually would love this a lot more. It's affordable. You get a lot of product. The texture and wear of it is so nice. It's just the tone of it does not look good. And because it's so opaque, it's horrible on deeper skin tones. Next on the list, one that's currently in a lot of question and a lot of heat, and that is the Perito Comfy Water. Tea with that one is it balls up, it pills. I don't like the texture. It does leave a white cast on me. And now more so what's called into question is the overall filter percentage, and as a result, the UV protection that you're getting. What I want to say is that, again, going back to things, the formulation is really complex. You cannot go off UV filters in a sunscreen and automatically know and designate a protection factor for a sunscreen. There's a lot more based off UV boosters, UV stabilizers, antioxidants, other additives and formulations that help to account for overall protection values. Prime example is actually this one from Australian Gold, which also has 4% zinc oxide, 4% titanium dioxide, so super low. But because of everything else in this, the protection values are very high. And they themselves are also very transparent on their website with the UV testing results. That is what it is about Perito, but also I just don't like the texture to wear. And also based off what people on my social media feeds feel about the sunscreen, those negative aspects of it are very inconsistent batch by batch. So in that in itself, it's also like, well, if it's inconsistent batch by batch, what does protection look like batch by batch, you know? Next on the list is the one from Inculus, their SPF 30 sunscreen. On initial testing and application and whatnot, when I reviewed it, I loved the sunscreen. The coloring was just right because it wasn't that nasty, cool undertone I don't like. Tinting of this is caramel instead of an actual iron oxide based pigment. And so as a result of that, it sort of melts into the skin a lot better. But on further application and kind of talking to other content creators, I don't like the way this wears. It gets really tacky and sticky on the skin. And so when it's really hot and you have to wear a face mask like I was doing back in Chicago, it just was not a fun texture. And also when you would move your skin, I could like feel it like stretching and like sticking to like itself or whatnot. And then with the tint, it's perfect for my skin undertone and range, but the deeper you get, it's not the most elegant still as a result. So with the weird texture thing and the tint thing, it's not the most perfect option, but I don't hate this. So I'm still playing around with this, but it's more favorable if anything. Plus it's really affordable. So next, we're gonna be talking about two sunscreens. I don't have the second one, but we have the Pyunkangyo ATO Mild Sun Cream, and then I'm also gonna be talking about the Suntique I'm Safe for Sensitive Skin. That's because the formulas and textures and experiences around those were very, very similar, and I wanna talk about them in the same light. The tea with these is that they are only titanium dioxide based sunscreens. That doesn't do a lot for me, I'm gonna be honest. Going back to what I said about the Perito, about you can't necessarily base sunscreen protection off a filter, that's tea. And for both of those, they offer mild sun protection. This one's an SPF 45 Cintiqs. I forgot what that one was, but it was fairly moderate. But to see what titanium dioxide is, it doesn't matter what you fortify the formulation with. Titanium dioxide's UV absorption is very limited, up to mostly only UVA2. So it doesn't really get and cover a good majority of UVA1, and those are still very important because again, those penetrate the deepest. So as a result of that, I'm like, well, that's compromising a good amount of protection that I actually want and I require. And even with that, just what it does cover, it's much lower in standard than zinc oxide in my opinion. Zinc oxide is superior to this, but even still, in my opinion, zinc oxide's not like the ultimate sunscreen filter. It's not my favorite. So with those, based off the limited protection you really get out of them, it's like, what's really the point, you know? And then the pricing on these is not the most affordable. This one actually is not bad. These are like mid-teens, low 20s, and the sizing for them is still kind of like, I would say these were like indoor only sunscreens, but even if you're indoor by an open window, UVA is still able to penetrate, and if this doesn't cover all of the UVA spectrum, like, what's the point, you know? I don't hate these. I love the way they look on my skin, I'm not gonna lie. These look amazing on my skin, deeper, darker skin tones. This wear perfectly under makeup. So they're not horrible, they're not every day, but I guess if it's like low UV index maybe. Next on the list is a more recent addition to this whole list, and that's the Dr. Sam Flawless Daily Sunscreen. This is expensive. You get the standard 50 ml. It's like £28 or $38. This looks really nice on my skin. Deeper skin, I don't have a lot of proof for. I had a link to Beck Winter's review on it, and it looked okay on her skin, but I don't doubt on deeper skin tones this could questionably leave a white cast. This wears horribly under makeup. My experience with this under makeup was not good, but it looks great on bare skin. I'm torn on this, but the price point's always a big factor for me. Affordability, accessibility is what I basically base this whole video series on. And if this doesn't make that cut, I don't really see a point in it. And so now let's get into my top 5 mineral sunscreens of 2020. These are what I consider to be the more brown skin friendly, specifically more for my brown skin because I have little points to make for each one. But these are what I would regularly put in my routine still and what I would actually actively recommend to you guys. And you guys have been asking me for a lot of these recommendations in the last couple of days. So let's get into it. My number 5 favorite sunscreen of 2020, the Kinship Self-Reflect Probiotic Moisturizing Sunscreen. This is a very moisturizing sunscreen. So much so that for oily skin, this kind of teeters on the spectrum of being too rich and emollient for me. But here's the deal. This is one I can actually attest to being very brown skin friendly, very inclusive. And in fact, that I have a lot of creators with deeper, darker skin tones who have been like, oh, this looks great on my skin. Fumi Monet and Gabby Skin, for example, who had really good experiences with this. This offers really nice protection. It has a high % of zinc. It's decently affordable. Because I can say it's good for a wider range of skin tones, I will have this in my top 5. For me, it's a little bit too moisturizing to wear by itself, but under makeup, this looks amazing. Number 4 favorite sunscreen of 2020 is the Sun By Me True Secret Mineral 100 Calming Sun Cream. I don't got it right now. It's still in transit from the US, but it's one that I had the most overall very pleasant experience with, even having no tints. The white cast on that one is actually really non-existent. I think my only issue with that one was just it got caught a little bit in my eyebrows and hairline, but based on how I applied it as well as what I had underneath it really made a big difference. And so this is one I actually got to work for me very, very well. It works great underneath makeup, and even on bare skin, I can make it work very, very well. The texture on this was very unique. It was very lightweight, sunk into my skin. It actually was more of like a natural finish on my skin. It wasn't too radiant. It wasn't too matte. So overall, this was a really great experience. I'm excited to get it back into my collection very soon, but it earned a spot in the top 5. Number 3 favorite mineral sunscreen of 2020 is the Access Y Complete No Stress Physical Sunscreen. Also a recent addition to the list. This one checked almost every box for me. No white cast, light as air feeling, moisturizing, worked amazingly under makeup, and it left the skin with a really nice natural matte finish. Semi-affordable, about $20 for the standard 50 ml, but overall my experience with this was just really, really positive. I could wear this on bare face on public and not look a fool. It works great with makeup. The versatility of this product is very, very good. I know that I can use it all throughout the year without an issue just by adjusting how I wear it and what I apply underneath it. And so overall, I really enjoy this experience. This was actually recommended to me from you guys, so thank you for that. All things considered, it actually has a very good percentage of the filters for me to justify the UV protection on this. And right now, that's a very big topic with sunscreens, but I can vouch for the fact that I've talked to the brand, asked a lot of questions. This has great protection. It's not waterproof, and a few people made that speculation in the video when I uploaded it, but if you have any questions, DM Access Y. They're very responsive to any questions or feedback you have on Instagram. My number 2 favorite mineral sunscreen of 2020 is the Cocokind Daily SPF. This one, like a few of the other sunscreens I have in the series, I discovered after a few of my followers sent me via DM the brand's Instagram stories on the product, and they made a lot of bold claims. They featured very interesting advertising, and in those advertisements, it didn't seem like the users were using a lot of sunscreen. And again, they're making very bold claims. And so when I got it, my expectations were low, but this was high-key one of my favorite sunscreen experiences of the year. It features a lot of qualities from a lot of different sunscreens, both good and bad, that just came all together to make a very positive experience. First and foremost, most the texture of it. It's very moisturizing, which I generally do enjoy, but it's a little bit more oil-based. So it felt a lot like the Biossance sunscreen, but not to the exact extent. And so on my skin, it felt just really nourishing and moisturizing. It retained a little bit of the emolliency, but it didn't feel bad or inelegant. And on top of that, it prepped my skin beautifully for makeup. My makeup looked amazing on that sunscreen. And then as well as it left a really nice finish on my skin. So even with a bare face, I could go out in public. It left no white cast on me, and I looked really, really good and healthy. And this was even in like Chicago summer heats. It's decently affordable, and Cocoa Kind, I believe, is now available at Target in the US. It's accessible, it's affordable, it is pretty brown skin friendly, and I really had a great experience with it. And my number one favorite mineral sunscreen of 2020, the brown skin friendly sunscreen of the year, in my opinion, is the Sun Bum Tinted Mineral SPF. This was actually sent to me by a follower on Instagram who was formulating a sunscreen, and she was like, hey, can you try this out? Tell me what you think. I want to base my sunscreen formulation on this one. And I was like, yeah, sure. I haven't heard a lot about this. I don't really know a lot about the sunscreen, so why not? Obviously, it's number one for a reason. If you watch the video, you see that a lot of my feedback on it is just that it's a really great texture. It's a very silicone-y mineral sunscreen texture that leaves the skin with a very nice blurred finish, semi-natural matte finish, no white cast. Makeup looks amazing on top of it, and it's really affordable. You can get this at Target, a lot of other drugstore retailers for less than $20. So it literally checks every single box for me. The overall difference between this one and the Cocoa Kind sunscreen is just the overall finish and feel of it. Cocoa Kind, a little bit more emollient, more moisturizing, so it leaves you a little bit more radiant. Sun Bum, a little bit more natural matte finish, blurs your skin a little bit more, but they were overall both very enjoyable and my favorite mineral sunscreens for the year. And with that, that is my definitive ranking of the brown skin friendly sunscreens I tried out this year, including my top 5 most brown skin friendly sunscreens that I've tried this year as well. What are your opinions on that? You guys have seen the videos, they're also online. Go through, watch my reviews if you have any questions on how the overall experience was, or down below in the comments, ask me, just because I did continue to use them afterwards. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and notification bell so that you know when I post more skincare, sunscreen, and pants related content on my channel. And don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.